Best advice you've received in real estate.
Best advice I've received in real estate. So when I first got started, there was a gentleman that was a top agent in my office, and we were just out there one time chatting, and then he's like, if I had to go back again, that's one thing he would do. Every year, he would try to buy an investment property. And I was young. I'm like, you know what? Why not? This is what a successful guy said he could have done. So I didn't question it, and that was my goal every year. I'm like, before I start the year, I want to make sure that I buy one investment property, because in 30 years you got you know 15, 20 of them paid in full, and you're creating your own retirement, your
Yeah.
own wealth building machine, because that's what we do. We help clients purchase home, which is one of the way that people build wealth. And a lot of agents sometimes don't think about themselves. So that was one of the things that I'm like, I'm gonna do differently. Every year I will buy one house, and I've been doing that consistently. So I've been lucky on that.
Amazing. That is an amazing thing. And for all of our listeners, that is my goal starting this next year. My girlfriend and I are going to be doing the same thing for retirement purposes, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So we do shows once a month with our lending partner, and we talk about that exact strategy. So what an amazing thing. Thank you for that. Worst advice you've received in real estate.
Worst advice. It's funny thing, it actually came from the same guy. Best advice. It was that you gotta buy an expensive car to show that you are successful. Because when
Yeah.
you pull up on somebody's house, when they see that, it will show. But again, that's it's one thing. I guess my upbringing, because I'm from Haiti. I very conservative on how we spend money, and very frugal. So I figured that what, I cannot beat them with the fancy car, but I'll build them with my kindness, my care, my knowledge, and ability to perform. So when I come to somebody's house and I show up, I show up very professional, and then I know my craft. And I have never had an issue for people to say, "Oh man, this car is not good enough for me." So
Yeah.
that's the thing, because you got a car payment that is super high and you're not closing deals. You start worrying.
Right, financial management, and also Warren Buffett drives like a $20,000 car, right? It just doesn't matter. But I understand that, and I think a lot of realtors feel that pressure to have that nice car, and I also think too, they could also backfire sometimes, where maybe the client thinks like, "Oh, what is he charging me?" Right? That could also be
Yeah.
factoring in. Our boss here at our brokerage drives a very modest car, and he's quite successful. And I always asked him, I said, "Nick, why don't you buy like a fancy car?" He goes, "Nobody wants to see the boss in a fancy car."
And you're
I
like,
said, "That's a good
pay,
point."
pay us more.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, uh, Loodmy Jacques is our guest today. Please welcome him. He is the CEO and founder of the Jacques Real Estate Team, which is a top performing real estate team serving Palm Beach, Broward, and St. Lucie counties in Florida. He's a licensed realtor since 2009, and he's known for his sharp market insight, strong negotiation skills, and genuine commitment to his clients' success. He's originally from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, as he mentioned, and he built his business on integrity, hard work, and a client first approach. His mission is to deliver a Ritz Carlton level experience where every buyer, seller, and investor feels valued. And I want people to just think about this for a moment. Delivering a Ritz Carlton level experience. If you were to do that for every one of your clients, even if you don't stay at the Ritz Carlton, which I do not, but I've been to a Ritz Carlton, I have had a drink in a Ritz Carlton. I know what those experiences are like, and they are pretty magical. And even if that's not maybe your standard, maybe there's a different level that you want to prevent. If you can figure out how to do this, Disney does this down in Florida. They think like, how do we give the best possible experience, and then they can charge a lot for that. Boy, that is such a smart frame to think about this. So, Loodmy, welcome to the show. Also, before Loodmy quickly comes on, we want you to follow him on find him on his website, loodmyjacques.com. We'll have a link to that in the show notes, as well as his Instagram, which is the Jacques team. So Jacques, Jacques, just like you'd think, the Jacques team at Instagram. We'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. And he is with KW, by the way. I forgot to mention Keller Williams. And Loodmy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, G, for having me.
I wanted to first, one of the very first thing we just met. And the very first thing I noticed about you, and I wanted to honor you for this because it's something that I think is probably one of the keys to your success, and I'm not sure how to verbalize it exactly. Maybe you can help me with this, and I hope it doesn't embarrass you. But you are incredibly, you have an incredible kindness to you. You're very friendly. You seem very nice. You have a good energy, and you laugh a lot. And I'm curious if other people describe you that way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like they need to be more kindness in the world, and I think in our business sometimes agents that work together feel like they have to be enemies, and I don't think that you need to do that, because if you're gonna do this and you want to be happy doing it, and I feel that if I am laughing at at a scenario, I'm smiling, there's very hard way for somebody to be frowning back at me. So
Yes.
that is my approach. It's always be friendly.
It's very infectious, and it draws people to you. And I know not everybody has that disposition, and I'm not here to say you should be different from who you really are, but it is something that is very obvious with you, and it's very engaging. I think it's
Yeah,
people probably feel very comfortable with you, so I appreciate
thank you.
you having that, and I suspect, and you're very professional as well. So I think that's kind of a nice combination. You've dressed up, you look very sharp and professional, and you work in the luxury space, so of course that's important. And having that sort of smiling type of demeanor, in addition to being super professional, is really a nice combination and not super common. I think there's
Yeah,
a lot of people who, when they get in a certain type of style of dress, they get very serious, and that probably works for them. But obviously, this style works well for you.
thank
And
you.
so, tell us about this. So you grew up in Haiti,
Mhm.
and which of course, Haiti has a wonderful wonderful country. I know many people here in Chicago who are realtors, who are Haitian, and who are just like some of the nicest people you could ever meet. I don't know what it is about Haitians, but obviously that country has had just a lot of challenge, and boy, there's so much challenge there. And so you've probably seen, obviously, some real adversity.
Yeah,
So I'd love to hear, when you came over here, what was that experience like for you? Was it easy to assimilate? Was it challenging? And then how did you do all of that and then sort of get into real estate?
yeah. I'll give you a short version of this because there's a lot of part to it. But I came here 2004, so it was different to understand this new change of life, and got licensed in 2009, and it was such a random a way for me to actually get my license. I actually was looking for a job as I was going to college, and I walk into an office, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." And they're like, "Well, this is a real estate office. You don't really you give jobs like this, but if you get a license, you can come work here." So that's what I did. I had no idea before I got started what this really entailed, and I just you know went in. I followed the process. I attach myself to the most successful person in the office. I'm like, all right, whatever this guy is doing, I'm just gonna do that. I don't need to understand it. I'm just gonna do that. So that's what I did, and something that started as a job came to my career now, 17 years in, and create a lot of success for me, building a team now. And looking back, I'm like, wow, either it was luck or it was just meant to be.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say it probably wasn't luck, right? It was you being very humble and being very coachable, and walking in saying, "How do I do this?" and going to the person that is doing it the best or most effectively and saying, how are you doing it? I'm just going to do what you do."
Yes, sir.
And it's funny because that's such a simple concept. It's so obvious that that's a great idea, and yet it's hard for people to often do that, or they just don't think to do it, or they want to figure it out on their own, and they could really save themselves a lot of headache and
Mhm,
stress by
mhm.
just going, what do I need to do? I love having coaches in my life and people who already know what to do, and I just go, just tell me what to do, and
Yeah,
and then it's my job to do it.
yeah.
So I'm curious, what was that top agent doing?
So just the basic. I mean, a lot of one thing he was telling me is like people have a tendency of just going to the next shiny object, trying to recreate something. And he was just doing the basic. He was showing up every day at the office. He was blocking time, making calls, doing open houses, meeting clients, following up, and just doing that consistently. So whenever he would be in the office, I would be like right next to him. Sometimes he doesn't even have time for me. So what I did is I would actually came with a recorder, kind of listen to him speak. So
Oh,
that way I could
smart.
sound just like him. I'm like, all right, this is what he's saying.
Wow.
Let me just do that because again, I think I was 19 when I got my license, so I had no real estate terminology. I didn't know anything. I was from a whole different country, so I'm like, what do I need to say? So he didn't have time. He was so busy, and I'm like, all right, just let me be in the room in the proximity of you, and then I'll do
Wow.
the rest. So yeah,
Wow. So yeah, so the fundamentals, it sounds like. And it's yeah, I always think it's the fundamentals that typically win the game. I know
yeah,
there's a famous NCAA coach, John Wooden from UCLA, I believe, and he is famous for he was like the winningest coach in NCAA history, and he would do that. He's like, it was all fundamentals. It's
yeah.
never the score. Don't look at the scoreboard. Just do the fundamentals. Practice, practice, practice. And sure enough, that's how you win. And so you came here. You're young. You're certainly I'm sure people weren't bending over backward to give a 19-year-old, their home to sell. I imagine that's a tough one,
Yeah,
and also, coming from a different culture, a
yeah,
different country,
yeah.
and you probably, you were here for years before that. Did you have a network when you started working in real estate, or did you have to develop that network?
I had nobody. Most of the people that I knew was either still in high school
Yeah,
and trying to figure things out. And going back, this was market crash 2009.
right. Yeah.
So there was like people were just
Oof.
running away from real estate.
And
And just like,
Florida was hit hard for that. I mean, they
so
were they were
yeah,
probably hit harder than anyone. Florida. Yeah.
empty houses, empty communities. It was not great. And I think the luck that I had, I would say, was because I didn't know the previous thing. So this is for me when I walked in, people were telling me about how easy it was previously to that, but I never experienced that. So for me, it was just
Right.
what it was, and then the way that I created traction was the hard way. Just going through every single restaurants that were Haitian-owned restaurants, every single store that were Haitian-owned store. I would wear my name tag and I would just talk to people. I'm like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, and at that time there is the Obama $8,000 tax credit they would give you. So I would print a flyer. I would say, hey, like if you didn't know about this program, I can help you purchase a home. Here's my business card. I would have a notepad. I would write their information in, and I would just call and check back in. And a lot of the time, a lot of these people would have known agents. They're like, oh, I have an agent that I'm working with, but they're too busy. They're not calling me back. I'm like, well, I'm available. So if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to go ahead and show you some homes. So, and that's what ended up happening. I end up creating this network of people. I met this lady. She's like, you're so amazing. You work with me. You showed me 100 houses. I'm going to do my best to help you out. And that's what we did. So, and another thing that was also a success for me was the white pages. So I picked up the yellow pages. That was back then. A lot of people don't know this, but
When
it was
those existed, yeah.
phone number. So actually, I went to the phone number on my weekend. I'll pull the phone number. My last name is a French last name, Jacques. So I thought to myself, okay, if I go to this, most likely somebody in there is gonna either speak French, which I speak French fluently, or be Haitian. So I went in and I called everybody with the last name Jacques. We already have something in common to talk about. Hey,
Wow.
your name is Jacques. My name is Jacques. I'm a realtor. Have you ever thought about buying a house because we're offering $8,000 to help you purchase a home? So that was one thing that we did. And end up, from there, meeting more people, following up, and then the traction worked out.
Wow, what a great idea. I love that, calling people with a, assumed French last name
Yeah.
and speaking to them. Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. I've never heard anybody share that exact tip, and that is for anyone that comes from, another country or speaks another language. That is a really smart idea. And you can do a version of that today, I guess. There's probably ways to do that. We don't have phone books so much anymore, and the it's harder to do that, but there's ways to do versions of that, or
I
maybe
mean, on
getting involved.
Facebook, or you have somebody that has the same last name. You're like, we have something in common. Hey, I've never seen this last name
Yeah.
before. Are you from this country? Great, easy icebreaker. Then you go to, by the way, I'm a realtor. If you
Yep.
know anybody that is looking to purchase or move, and then you always have kind of what is called a a lead magnet or an offer to give. So if you're gonna reach out to them, say, hey, this is something, I don't know if you know about it, but I can do this for you. If it is
Yeah.
if you know anybody that is paying 26 or $3,000 a month for rent, do you know that they can be a homeowner?
Right.
So instead of just basically asking, who do you know, I give them an exact kind of thing in their mind to know that, hey, if you know anybody that is paying $3,000 a month for rent, they could technically own a home. Or if they're worried about interest rate, did you know that you can have what is called 2-1 buy down and buy down the rate? So whatever that is, that magnet to keep their attention and make them think like, oh yeah, I got my friend, I got my cousin that's renting, and I think his rent is 3,000. Great, let's have a conversation to see if I can help them purchase a home.
What I love about this for our listeners is this is so simple and yet such an effective thing that any of us can do. So, this idea of, I like the idea of business owners too, going around and seeing, the Haitian owners, figuring out who those people might be. And, really, thinking about, if you're not buying, you're renting. So this is a great opportunity. If they own a place, they probably already have a realtor. So maybe or maybe not, that would even work. But for anyone renting, and again, I think people miss the opportunity with renters right now. It's not so much even to do the rental, although you certainly can do the rental as well, but
Mhm.
it's to remind people, like, what are you paying in rent? And you should be buying. And
Yeah,
did you know you could? And here's how, and we can run the numbers. And has anyone ever done that? Because I think, at least for me, and I bought my first condo in 2005, and I think I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm not a real estate person. I'm not really even a finance person. I'm a marketing person, but I think I'm a pretty smart guy, and I didn't even know that I could buy a place. And it wasn't so obvious to me. And I like Googled it one day, like, can I buy a place? And
yeah,
if somebody would have called me or come up to me with that sort of information, they would be my realtor.
yeah,
So I think that is really smart. So coming with an item of value, not necessarily saying, hey, who do you know? Are you ready to buy a home? And yeah, of course, they're going to know your realtor anyway, so that's pretty obvious. And you're coming to them with something that might actually be helpful. And so for our listeners, like, think about that. Like, if you just walked around with something of value and you thought about, who is the exact kind of person that needs this piece of information, that could actually help them, that they would be really impressed or happy to see or read or hear, that's a great strategy. And just plug in those, figure out what those are. And what's really cool these days is, even if you don't totally know, I don't know who I'd be going after, and I don't know what item of value I'd be giving, go to Chat GPT, give them this problem. I'm a realtor, I'm trying to market myself, I want to meet more people. um, and ChatGPT will give you some ideas about how to
yeah,
maybe even do that. So you don't even have to necessarily figure it out for yourself anymore, but the strategy is so brilliant. Again, I'm making a big deal of this because I think it is a big deal.
yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. And boy, I bet you just made a lot of relationships that way.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to do something that capture somebody's attention better than just saying, hey, here's my card, call me
Yeah.
when you're ready. I bring information, and this is how I set myself apart from other people, where there's so many agents in my market. Is like, why would somebody choose to work with me rather than somebody else? Is because they know, hey, if they come to me, they're all going to get information, and before they make that step, they will have all the data to know that, okay, I can afford this, this is what I need to be at. This is, we do this consultation, and we explain the whole process. So a lot of people, like you're saying, the reason why they don't make that step is because I think it's complicated.
Yeah.
And I try to break it down into simple, easy steps to know that we can get there. It is not something to be scared about. It is not something that is, unachievable. If we have a plan in place, I can get you there. It may take a month, it may take 6 months, it may take a year, but let's start and let's have a conversation.
Yeah, you're basically their guide, and people who are the guides get the business. And then that's a great way to really ingratiate yourself with somebody who isn't your best friend who's going to work with you anyway, right? Those people probably will just work with you because they're your friend, and that's like what I did with my friend when I was ready to buy. I said, "Oh, hey Nick," and he was my realtor because he was my friend. But if I hadn't have known Nick, I would have gone with somebody who came up to me and said, "Hey, I noticed you're renting, and I noticed that there's this other option that you might not even be aware of." And so I think that's just absolutely such a smart thing, especially at 19 when you're right. You're probably renting, everybody you know is renting. And of course, people aren't just bending over backwards to give you deals. So I think that's really incredibly smart. And I imagine you do a version of that today where when you call your clients, your existing clients, people you've worked with in the past, I'm imagining you're probably always thinking about, hey, I've got an idea for you, or I've got this piece of content for you.
Yes, yes. We still do the same thing. Now I focus a lot in the listing side. So I work a lot with sellers and I do the same thing. A different version of that is, why would somebody choose to work with me as a listing agent compared to hiring? And again, most homeowners do technically the same thing you just said. They're going to hire somebody that is a friend or somebody that has the biggest billboard. And when they're going to interview a realtor for to sell their home, they need to have somebody that actually understand the data, can educate them and walk them to a plan, not just put it up on the MLS and then just sit back for a buyer to reach out to them. So having that same plan, which is now the same way that I do with sellers, is the same thing. Like having a system, break it down to a way that they know what happens in the first week, what happens in the next month, what happened, afterwards.
Yeah, I love that. And I was going to ask you this, and trying to figure out a way to ask it for our audience because I know that you have standards. I can tell that's important to you to have standards of practice
Mhm.
and processes. And I know you know the answer to why people choose you, or what you would say to why people choose you. So I'm going to ask you that not because I want to be sold on you. I'm just curious on what you tell people because I know you have an answer for this, and I think a lot of agents maybe don't. And so, like you said, a lot of agents kind of fall into business. If they're especially if they're part time, maybe they just do this on the side, and they have a friend here and there who need a place, and they just reach out. And for the rest of us who are trying to really build this into a business, we need to have a very good answer to uh, why somebody should choose us. And so, why should somebody choose you?
Well, if you're a client, a customer, a seller that is reaching out, says, "Hey, what makes you different than this next guy around?" So, it's simple. We don't just list a house. We have a plan. We call the Jacques Team 360 system. So what it is that we have a process to price the home properly, give it the correct exposure to buyers that have high intent through local areas to a global areas with our network, and also give you the follow up to know that, hey, this is what's happening right now with the stats from 3 or 6 months ago, but this is what we are now and what you need to position your home to get it sold. So a lot of the time people, get information from either the neighbor or a friend, but they don't know what's going on in the market right now. And that's why you sit with a professional to actually break down what is the buyer's absorption rate, what's going on, and how fast a home is moving, what is it staying on the market for, and how can you position yours so that way it does not sit for 6 or 7 months.
Yeah, and I love that you have a name for it, the Jacques 360 program. Like
Yes.
that is really a smart thing to do for any of us listening. You should have a name for your process because that means you've put enough thought into it that you have an actual system. You your system has a name. I mean, I'm a branding guy, so I love hearing things like that. And for those of us that think, oh, that sounds maybe a little corny. No, it doesn't. It sounds really professional, and it sounds really cool because it means there's a set of principles and standards and processes that go underneath this title that I just gave you. And you almost giving the title, it's almost psychologically very satisfying where maybe the person might not say, well, tell me every step of the process. They probably don't ask that, but just hearing that there's a name for this process
Yeah.
sort of puts you in a different category.
They remember it too. They're like, yeah, the Jacques 360 system.
You,
So
you know,
yeah, if you look at my reviews, like every Tuesday we have a Tuesday update call. So like people love that. They know what's happening each time of the week. Like what are we gonna do next week to promote their house? So they look forward to those phone calls.
that's really smart. And so let's talk about that. So the weekly calls. So you're making regular communication with your clients. Talk about that because I think that's a lot of that's something that a lot of the top producers I've had on the show over the years really say is something that a lot of agents do not do. So tell me about sort of the regular communication. How do you do that?
Yeah. So, we started implementing this because, I always try to improve what I've done previous year, get feedback from people, say, what can I do to do better? And one thing that other clients, when I would meet with a seller that, their home's in sale, they would say, hey, like this is what I wish the other person did. So we're like, hey, we've been hearing this a lot. So we need to do better. So we put this plan in place where every Monday we send them an email that breaks down what is happening for the week. And every Tuesday, I give them a call to kind of go over that. Say, okay, if we're gonna be um, promoting it, I know to our social media platform, this is what's gonna be going out. This is the marketing we're gonna do.
Wow.
This is what is expected in views. If we're gonna be hosting an open house in the next week, this is the email blast that's gonna go out to all the local realtors. This is how many people we're reaching out to. This is our database of buyers that we're gonna send this out to. And the benefit for it is that sellers, when they have their home in the market, people come through, they're like, what is happening? So they don't know what's happening. And you showing them like, hey, I'm not just guessing on this. I have a plan and everything is going according to plan. They feel at ease because this is a whole different market. Now homes are sitting a bit longer. So if you're not telling them what's happening, they will feel that you're not doing enough to promote their home. So we kind of prevent that call when they're like 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. Why haven't my home sold? So before that problem comes up, we let them know, hey, this is part of the process. We expect 2 to 3 showings per week. This is what we're doing to get people into the door. If we're not getting these things, then we can have that conversation about, hey, we've positioned it in the beginning at this. The market is not really reacting to what we're hoping it will do with the steps that we're taking. We need to try something different and repositioning it to where it needs to move. And they will be more likely to do so because they can see the steps that we've taken to get there so far.
Wow, that's amazing. I am super impressed by that. And again, it's process. And again, we're talking about there's a system. It's got a name and it's got very specific actions. And imagine if putting our listeners, put yourself in the client's perspective. Imagine you get this email on a Monday and you get, here's what we're going to do for you this week. And then the next Monday, another email, here's what we're doing for you. Here's what we're doing with social. Here's what we're doing with reaching out to other agents. Here's what we're doing to promote your stuff on in other ways. And here's the actually even the emails we're sending out. Here's the copy. Here's
Yeah.
what we expect as far as views for
Yeah.
social. That is really going to another level. That is another level experience. And that is absolutely such a smart play. And I imagine you were such, and I mean this in the best possible way. You are like a sponge. Like I imagine you just hear great ideas. You're
Yes.
like, we got to do that.
Yes. You always got to improve. You always got to grow. So yes, always improving the system that we have. And we try it, we test it out. We're like, okay, this is the result we're getting, and then let's go ahead and improve that. And somebody else, and I listen to your podcast and I see it. I'm like, hey, if somebody's doing this, I'm gonna do it because I know that there's always a better way to. It, remember the Ritz Carlton experience?
Yep.
We want to people will remember the experience, and anybody can sell the house. Anybody can just like, hey, I'm gonna list your house and the house get done. And we look for long-term relationship. And if they remember that experience, remember the name of our system, we know we have something. When they're gonna talk to their client or a friend to say, hey, you need to work with this guy because of that reason. And that referral always keep coming back because they know that we have a plan to get it done. And even if things are not working fast the way they expected, they still trust the process.
Right. You're still delivering them something all the time, and you're just course correcting along the way. You're just going, okay, this is what worked. This is what isn't working, and it really is how you run your business. It's also how you work with your clients. It's very similar.
Yeah.
You're just basically saying, we're going to try this. Here's what we're going to do. You're spelling it all out. And so this way, the client is probably never feeling that they are unaware of
Mm,
what's happening. They,
yeah.
they, they know what you're doing. They get reports on what you're doing, and then they get updates. And I think, again, this sounds so obvious, right? But I think most agents don't do this. And there's lots of different ways to do it. We're not saying this is the only way, but certainly this is an attractive way. I would be attracted to this as a client. I never, look. There's times where you have to call your agent and ask a question, and that happens. But
Mhm.
wouldn't it be cool to have so much information coming to you in a way that's digestible, readable, not overwhelming, but that the agent's telling you what's going on
Yeah.
always, as opposed to you having to reach out to say, hey, what should we do next?
Yeah.
I think that is really a real mindset shift for a lot of agents to think about is, take control. Your clients are busy. They do not want to have to figure out what the next step is. They don't not want to have to call you. They will if they need it, but
Mhm.
they want you calling them, and they want you texting them and saying, I got an idea for you.
Yeah.
So I love that. Um, that is wonderful. So let's talk about how you are marketing yourself. So yes, so you obviously are getting a lot of referrals. Are you doing anything outside of referrals to meet new people that you haven't yet met?
Yes. So, there is a lot of when you start making a lot of transaction and you meet a lot of people and you do a lot of, volume, you get different opportunities that comes up. So, one thing that we in the past maybe 5 years or so, we've been really owning in on is trying to at least get one review, a Google review, Facebook review from a client. So now I think we have 300. So the goal is
Wow.
by yeah, by next year we're trying to double that to 600. So that is one way that we are trying to show people, hey, people do love working with us, and then when people see that evidence of success of to see those reviews, it makes a huge difference. Again, we do a lot of paper marketing as well. So I do a lot of postcards to send out a neighborhood. So every time I sell a home in a neighborhood, I set aside a certain amount of budget and then I market the whole neighborhood to let them know, hey, this home just sold. They see my face, they see what we did. We will put like a quick tagline like sold in 10 days, sold in 5 days, or represented both buyers and sellers, situation like this, and we send out to the whole neighborhood. Another thing we do is I try to connect with different group of individuals. So we call it a well hunting, where I would try to reach out to different a I would say person that is a high net worth individual. So through LinkedIn, I would send direct message. I would again bring that a lead magnet type of offering to say this is what we're offering. This is what's going on. Where let's say for example, I have another person that is an attorney, and then I have a chiropractor. I'll say, hey, I'm just reaching out to you. I see that you've worked with such a group of person. I have a friend that is looking for some advice. I wanted to refer them to somebody good. When would you like have 5 minutes to grab a cup of coffee or talk? So that way I'm not just reaching out and say, hey, refer me people. I'm like, hey, I have an opportunity for you. Let's see how I can refer you people. So
Yeah.
there's different things that we're working on.
So you love solving problems.
Yes.
Yeah. So even if somebody's like, "Hey, I need a chiropractor," which is not real estate related necessarily, but you're like, "No problem. I can go find one for you," or I already know someone,
Yeah.
and then you call that chiropractor and you're like, "Hey, I've heard you're really good, and I've got a friend or a client that needs your services. Are you taking on new clients? The answer is
Yep.
always yes.
Yep.
And then you would go, I'd like to meet with you and just say hi and get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
And you're giving them business. Well, how
Yes.
brilliant is that? That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I give them business, create a relationship, and then in return, you give, and then you have the ask. You're like, great, glad this worked out. By the way, I'm always looking to also get referrals. If you know anybody that is looking to move, I would be happy to be your VIP or your person on the list that you can refer. Can I count on you to at least give me one name, maybe next month or so? So I also put a kind of time frame on it, like,
Sure.
not random. It's like, yeah, I've given you clients now. You get
Right.
1 month to return that favor.
And,
So
and, and I think that's fair. And look, they're running a business. They
yeah,
they understand, they get it, and it put lights a little bit of a fire under them to say, hey, I better deliver to this guy. He's not going to hand me any more people,
yeah,
and you're putting money in their pocket. So yeah, that is a really smart play, and you do it with kindness. But and if the person doesn't give you anyone, then
no,
oh
not
well,
yeah,
and then you maybe find someone else.
of
So
course.
it's really smart. I imagine you do this with attorneys. Um, Financial advisors,
Yeah.
insurance. I imagine you have a whole group of people that you refer to.
Simple thing is going to chat GPT, say, this is what you do. Give me a list of people you want to have relationship with and have built a client list with, and then they'll give you a whole list. You go to Google, pick up all the top ones that have
Yep.
at least 100 reviews,
Yep.
and then you reach out to them because they already know other people trust them. You check them out, and then you create that just you're a hub where everybody can come to you, and then you can give them the right connection.
Little pro tip for everyone. Back to the Google reviews for a moment because you said something really important. And yes, of course, we want you know as many 5-star reviews as possible. But what Google really rewards more than even just 5-star reviews and is the consistency of reviews. So Google is looking to see which companies are constantly asking for feedback because they know that those companies are constantly improving and probably are going to be the best ones that Google can actually push. Because Google has to make a decision. Their algorithms have to decide who are we going to put when somebody does a search for real estate agent or attorney or whatever. So they have to have algorithms in place, and they don't know who's good and who isn't. And yes, they could look to read. They look through the reviews. Their systems do that. But what they really look for is number of reviews. So even if you get a 1-star review, which happens, I mean, our brokerage, we get a 1-star review here and there. We ask every single client of our agents, we have 700 agents, and it is not, 99% of the time, the clients are going to have a great experience, but there's people that don't have a great experience. And then those are the ones that will write in. And so we will get a 1-star review and we will respond to it. And we will say, we're super sorry. Please tell us what happened. We will do our best to make it right. And what we have found, and we have about 900 reviews as of now, but we have a lot of agents. So it's easy for us to get that. But what I will tell you is, are we the biggest brokerage in town? No, not even close. There's agent brokerages that have thousands of agents more than we do, but we show up in search results, and we don't even have the highest. Like we have like a 4.7 or 4.8, which again, with as many those reviews, that kind of just happens. But we don't have like the highest score, but we have the most consistent reviews, and we respond to every review too. Google likes that too.
Yeah.
So you just said something really important that I think a lot of people don't think about. Zillow obviously get reviews on Zillow too. There's a lot of places, but Google's a good one. And for people who are, wanting to get more reviews, you do have to ask for those. And the way
Yeah.
that we do it here, just to sort of spill the tea on how we do it at our brokerage, and you could ask your brokerage if they'll do this for you, is we just literally we don't even ask our agents for permission, which we're like, too bad. We're asking the client to write a review, even if they don't like you. So we're going to write, and most of the time it's a good review, but we do that because we want the feedback. We want to know. And also we want Google to see that like we're asking, we're asking, we're asking, we're asking. So that is such a smart idea. And I
Yeah.
love that you're going to double that next year.
Yeah.
And you
That's
will
the goal.
see, you will see a massive surge in the
Yeah.
number of people that find you through your business account.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not like our biggest source. Like we don't really generate a lot of buyer and seller leads to our brokerage that way, but I get a lot of agents that see us and go, what's going on
Yeah.
over at KL Realty? And they
Yeah.
maybe want to join us as a result.
I'll,
So
I'll I'll add something to that
yes,
as
please.
well. So if you're looking at somebody's reviews and they're all 5 star, I think you're gonna think it's fake because there's
Yep.
no way nobody's always gonna like it. There's always gonna be somebody that no matter what you do, they're always gonna find something to complain
Sure.
about. So
Yeah.
that is normal. The other thing also is that we do get a lot of actually leads from people from Google, and then they or high intent individuals. They're like ready to transact. So that's a great thing that we get there. And what we have done in our team, and I train my transaction coordinator, my listing coordinator, my showing agent, everybody from the moment that we meet with the client, we ask for two things. So like, if we do a great job with you, would you feel confident to refer us and also give us a review online? So from that moment we meet, we ask for that. So we start treating them. Whenever they call the office and we do something for them and they're like, oh, this was amazing. Thank you so much. We can ask again. We're like, hey, we appreciate it. One thing you could do for us as a favor is to do it there and then give us the review.
Yeah.
The reason why we do not wait all the way to the end of the transaction to ask, because sometimes things that are out of our control
Yeah.
end up happening and just turn the person off on how happy they were. So we realize when we start asking for it in the beginning and say, hey, are we delivering to what your expectations are? And whenever they say thank you and we ask, our chances are we're going to get a higher review, or we're going to get a higher return rate on them doing it, because after they sell the house, they got to move, they got to figure things out, they got to pack. Getting a review is the last thing they're thinking. Giving us
Sure.
a review is the last thing. So asking for it multiple times throughout the transaction is we found is easier for us to get it
That
than
is really
to the
smart.
end.
Yeah, that is brilliant because you're right. When someone's buying or selling at the end, they got too many other things going on. You're right. It is a tough ask, and yes, doing it along the way is really smart
We're gonna
too.
get it. We're gonna get it done, but we realize, hey, when they call and we got the inspection, we got the number they're looking for. It's like, oh, you're amazing. You guys did a good
That's
job.
when you ask.
Thank you. By the way, we're gonna send you a link.
I
Just
imagine too, you also probably write reviews for businesses that you refer to. So going in a different direction,
yes,
and that's always a great thing because I will tell you, every business knows when they get a review, we get notified in real time.
yes.
Realtors typically know as well when they get reviews from Zillow and from Google. But boy, reviews are like our everybody loves a good review,
Yeah.
and so that's also something that for those of us that are trying to you know be more visible in our community, work with maybe more businesses, write reviews for those businesses.
Mhm.
If you like their services, they appreciate it, it helps them, and then that also maybe can make a soft introduction. I love it when somebody calls me. Sometimes sales guys will do this. They want to sell a software or something for our agents, and they'll go, hey, just FYI, I wrote you a review on Google before I called you. Now, again, should they do it that way? I don't know. Maybe there's that, but they do it, and I love it, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
take it down. And I go, man, that was really nice of you. So that is really smart. Reviews are everything. Boy, I'm so glad we're kind of going in a direction here that I wasn't anticipating, and I'm so happy to do that because
So,
you have so many wonderful ideas. I want to talk about team building because you have a team, and I think that teams are so important right now. They're obviously very popular. There's a lot of people listening who are currently on a team who maybe are feeling maybe they're not on the right team, or maybe they're not yet on a team and they're thinking of joining one and they're not sure sort of what to look for, or maybe they want to build a team. So obviously we can't solve all those problems, but if you were an individual agent right now and you were looking to join a team, what would you be looking for?
so that's a very good question, because when I first started, that was what I was looking for, and at that time, I couldn't find anybody that wanted me to be part of the team. So if I had to go back, remember that other guy was too busy for me.
Sure.
I had to record him. So if I had to do it again, I would first look for somebody that wants to coach and is cares for me to be a success as the new agent, that is going to set up plan in place for me to show me the ropes, show me what I need to do every day, and for me to get the result that I'm looking for. So number one is a team leader that has the time and that wants to coach you and not just say, hey, go watch a video. Number two is having somebody that has the track record and have delivered and is just not a new person that just started the team, where they have been in the business a long time and have created success for them and now is looking to grow that. Number three, somebody that has support staff in place. If you're in a team and that team leader doesn't have, you know, a transaction coordinator or a marketing manager or a somebody that even to do payroll, to do different type of admin work, and they have to do this all themselves, they're not going to have time for you. You want to have somebody that have all that structure that can teach you to bring you from like a single agent to yourself one day be able to copy it and become your own team leader. So these will be the three things that I'll be looking for.
Wow. Thank you. That is such great advice. Ludmy, you have given us a lot on this podcast. And I think this is a great place to wrap up. Before we wrap up though, I want to mention that if I were an agent practicing and I had clients that were moving to, West Palm, Broward County, those areas where you practice, I would want to work with you. I would want to send clients to you because you have a system. You're super professional. You're a nice person, and you have a great team. You work for a great company. KW is amazing, and you just seem like a really really good guy. So I know our audience is probably thinking the same thing. So if there are people in our audience that have that feed into your market, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have people that leave and go elsewhere. How should they reach out to you?
Yeah. I'm always open to any referrals of somebody coming to South Florida. We cover the southeast section of Florida. So anywhere from Fort Lauderdale all the way to Fort Pierce, we will be able to service that. And if somebody want to reach out to us, we answer all our calls. If you go to Google, I have a very unique name. It's Loodmy Jacques. That's Lood like David, My. Last name is Jacques, Jacques. I'm the only one that has that name, so you won't be able to miss it. You'll find our phone number there. Give us a call 7 days a week. We will answer it. If you want us to refer your people over there, wherever you are, call us. Let us know what is the lead magnet or what is it that you're offering that you want us to tell our clients. Send us an email at ludme at jacquesrealty.com, and we'll have a conversation and we'll see if we can assist you, or if we can have a conversation about what I can do to help you out.
Yeah, and you're just a super generous person. On behalf of our audience, I want to thank you. Please reach out to Ludmy, make a connection with him. He is a top producing team. He has a top producing team. They've got amazing client reviews. They are doing a lot of the right things, so your clients will be in good hands. Also, follow Ludmy on and his team on Instagram, which is the Jacques team. We'll have a link to that in the show notes, and also a link to their website. And again, probably the only realtor in America with that first name. So
Yeah,
very
for
very
sure.
easy to find. Uh,
Yeah.
may I ask, does that name mean something? I'm just curious. Does it mean anything?
I think I should create something for it. No, it was a name that my mom just made up because we have a lot of Lou's in my family.
Oh
She's like, all right,
wow,
we need to continue that. And we made this up. So,
I
so
love that.
which is great. It's
Cheer!
always a good conversation starter with anybody, icebreaker. So I'm the only one, easy to find me. I'm always ready to help.
Wow, you might be the only one in the world.
Yes.
That is wild. I
Yeah.
love that. Cheers to your mom for that. That is
Right.
not
For
an easy
real.
thing to do.
Like
Cheers to your mom.
that's my
Uh,
own branding. This is it.
Wow. Well, what an amazing thing. Oh my gosh. Well, Ludmy, thank you on behalf of our audience. On behalf of Ludmy and myself, thank you to the audience. If you are new to the show, we appreciate you. If you're returning and you're somebody that listens regularly, obviously we love you as well. Please continue to tell a friend. Think of one other agent. Ludmy gave so many great strategies and examples today of what you can do to grow your business, what he's doing currently, how he got started. Please send this link to someone else who needs to hear it. And let's be honest. Everyone struggles at every time in their business. There's always a problem that is worth solving, and maybe Ludmy listening to this interview will help solve one of their issues with their real estate practice. So please shoot this over. You can find us anywhere podcasts are served, and we appreciate you. I am also working on a short form video series that is a little bit outside this podcast, but if you follow us on the social platforms, including the Meta, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as well as LinkedIn and YouTube. I'm posting short form video moments, obviously, of our podcast, but also I'm doing these AI agent prompts. So a couple times a week, I actually come up with a AI prompt that you can drop into Chat GPT, and you can I put the prompt in the description, and it's specifically about how you can grow your business that either a top producer has given me or that I've crafted myself. So I do those. They each are about 55 seconds, so they're easy, digestible. You can subscribe to those just on any of our social channels. Look for Keeping It Real Podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend. Please support our sponsors as well. We love our sponsors. And on behalf of everyone here on the show, Loodmy, thank you. We will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Loodmy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, DJ.